You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now. Hello.
Alrighty.
How's
Wait,
it
hold
going?
on. Where's my mic or my headphones? It sounds
No, you're
low.
doing mine.
There we go. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Now we're trying it
Cheers.
on this angle. I don't know if you saw last week's episode. I was on that side. He was on this side.
Making progress.
Are we?
Iterating.
We're just keeping you on your toes.
Oh,
Don't touch the table. The camera's moving too
camera
much.
shakes. Anybody that's listening in on the Twitter Spaces, you could listen in live on YouTube, so you could see us. Sydneyta in particular.
Really? Like I kind of
And the price report.
and the development segment
Yeah.
and then the
Everything.
news.
You can see it all.
and the guests.
Or you can stay here and listen. And we'll be jumping in the spaces later to do a little Q&A with our guest. Who we have on today? Reuben
Firo.
from Firo.
Woohoo!
They'll be at Monerokon, so we're bringing them on. I mean,
Be on
Monerotopia.
Monerotopia.
will they be at Monerokon too? I do not know.
don't
That'll
know.
be one of my questions.
We will be at Monerokon and also Monerotopia.
Yes.
If you haven't bought your tickets yet, you should, my friends.
Yeah, I just put
It's
that
heating up.
Reddit post up this morning.
What did it say? Would you like to go off on a rant?
Let me
again?
read the
Guys, it was very
500
long.
word Reddit post. Just trying to get some, action out there. Like last year when we did the event, I was just blown away when we went down to Miami and we ran into Monero people that didn't know Monerotopia was going on, right?
Yes.
So I just don't want that to be the case.
I don't think it
Like,
will
if
be.
you don't want to come to Monerotopia, that's one thing. But for people to not know about it, like, we're doing something wrong, right? Like,
We're doing
come on.
something
If
wrong.
you're into Monero and you don't know it exists,
This is true.
yeah. So
All
that's
right,
why
let's
put the post up on Reddit. Anybody out there, just give it some likes.
and yeah, let's go over
I
the
see Zab on here. What's going on, man? I see him in the spaces.
Zab.
Yeah, he's the I know him from Haven when we were talking about Haven.
Oh, okay.
What's going on, man? He's requesting to speak. Yeah, Zab, right? The way we do this show is we broadcast it live on YouTube and then we just simultaneously stream it in here. So we'll have people up on stage later. And
So stay tuned.
I'll bring you up on stage, which is not going to be for like
Be
another hour
patient.
from now.
Yeah,
Just
I was like, be patient. You have a lot going on.
But if you want to view the show, you can see it on YouTube.
It's a long show. Some shows are longer than others, but hopefully this one will not be as long.
Well, it can't be because we got things.
Well,
to
we
do.
got to go.
Yeah.
But I guess in the meantime, let's just quickly talk about the conference because we added a few more things onto the website.
Sure. What do you want to say?
What do you want to say? If you haven't, VIP tickets have been sold out. I know we talked about that last week. We mentioned that we were going to cap it, and we did because we just have a lot. Everyone that's buying tickets, we're basically buying the VIP tickets. So sorry, guys.
Everybody
didn't
can't
buy
be a
it,
VIP.
tough luck.
It's
I
no
don't know what to
longer
say, yeah.
VIP.
It's
if
no longer
everybody's
VIP. Exactly. Imagine everyone. So sorry, those are sold out. But obviously, the regular admission, $99, is still available.
It's just as good. The only thing you don't get is the speaker dinner.
Yeah, that's the only thing. But you're going to be enjoying all the days. You're going to be enjoying May 5th, 6th, and 7th. The welcome party. You're going to be enjoying all the talks, which I think are going to start at 8:30 in the morning and end. Not sure yet. We're still figuring out
As late as they let us go. We have a lot of content, guys.
We have a lot of
content. And we have
so
other
brace yourself.
people still reaching
If you
out
guys
to us.
survived last year's, you'll definitely survive this one. This is another one where we're testing you guys.
Well, it's going to be very much like last year in that it's a marathon, except instead of one day, it's
gonna be
3.
3
So I
days.
don't know,
Well,
actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll
basically, yeah.
survive.
I don't know if you'll survive. We'll see. We'll see Sunday night. We'll see who's still standing. Who's still standing.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna
It's
be
gonna
fun.
be so
Like
much fun.
we're gonna have the vendors there. Hopefully they'll be selling mezcal and stuff too, right? So people will be chilling. We'll have DJs going. Right? Did we just add a DJ this week?
Yeah, we
have
did.
two DJs.
We added a new DJ. Let me see. Well, let's go through it, obviously. So we still haven't changed the time, but we will.
It looks good.
But it looks great.
Bang dong.
Yeah, thank you very
Stepped
much.
up to the plate.
All the speakers,
Took
we've
over
already
from
gone
Monero
through
Buddy.
them. Any new speakers? We're still in the works. We're going to be adding more privacy tech projects.
We got Xano, we got Oxen, we got Particle, we got Firo, we got DarkFi, Lunar DAO, we got Nim.
Yeah, Panther, Lunar DAO. We added Daniel into the workshop. Professor
Pirate Chain just reached out to us. Oh boy. Yep. I mean, we're trying to be open and accessible as possible. So yeah, why not?
Yeah. And to top it off, also, we're very excited to announce that CakeWallet and Monero.com is going to be our stage sponsor. So we're very excited about that.
We knew they'd come through. We knew it.
We knew. Let's give them a round of applause. I don't want to. Hey.
All right.
I usually have to make sure that that's not super loud because it will shock people. But there you go. Yay!
We love Cake.
We love
Vic.
We love using it.
But no, this is huge because there's a lot of we're taking a lot of risk here. So this is all on us. We didn't raise funds from the community to do this. This is all on us. So it's a business venture. If we don't get enough sponsors, we get nailed. But we're doing okay. I mean, the content's all there. It's amazing, and the risk really is because we made tickets super cheap, but it's worth it because we want to, we want people to be there, especially the local. We want to get locals involved so we can onboard locals. So this sponsorship, it gives us leeway, is going to allow us to do that without having to, worry so much with every decision we make. And then we also have, all the privacy tech, all the privacy tech projects that are giving talks or have tables, they gave us sponsorship fees as well. So huge thank you to them as well. They're making this conference possible. That was part of the thinking, right? If we were going to involve all these other privacy tech projects who are, using our platform to get the word out, we knew there might be some people in the Monero community that wouldn't, be fans of that, right? Saying like, should be Monero only. Although we haven't gotten that feedback at all,
don't
really,
jinx it,
right? I
friend.
feel like I'm the only one that's saying it. But part of the reason we wanted to justify it was that they would help fund the conference, which is exactly what happened. So
we're very excited. Thank you to everyone. Yeah. And thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our media partners. Also, we have Mark Falzone, Rise to Liberty is a new addition. And we have a few that we need to add more. And another performer, DJ.
We'll add him.
Well, we're adding him.
We didn't put all the speakers up yet either. I mean, we have way more content than we can handle. So we're thinking of maybe making a second stage, or on the first day for the welcome party. That might be a welcome party / the beginning of the conference, where we have like 3 talks take place, just so we can fit everybody in. So maybe there'll be some more of the lighthearted, they won't be like the super technical talks. There'll be more of the big vision, speaking, philosophical talks.
Dancing,
so
DJs,
those might happen on
all over the place
on day 0, day 1, during the welcome party, just so we can fit everything in. But yeah, guys, it's awesome.
It's awesome. We're really excited to keep spreading the word and get your tickets if you still haven't. And for those that want to help out, please do reach out. Monerotopia@protonmail.com. We'll give you a free ticket to help us out, basically.
Oh yeah, volunteers,
please. We need them. We need help the day of, or the date of for the 3 days.
Yeah.
And yeah, anybody that's interested in being a media partner or vendor, sponsor, please reach out to Monero.
Yeah, continue to reach out. Even speakers, because we can figure something out.
We're trying to figure that out. Yeah.
Like if you had us. Some of them are going to be lightning talks.
Floating stage. I don't know.
Some of the speakers might be.
This one, anything is possible.
It might be 10-minute lightning talks, so we can fit a bunch in. So we already have a few people in that category.
Brace yourself. You'll be in Mexico City and it'll be warm. So be excited about that. Yeah. Other than that, I think anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, keep it moving.
keep it moving. All right. So other than that, anything else you want to rant about or vent? Anything else? Just giving you.
I have things that are running through my
Yeah,
mind, but you know
clearly.
what? I'm going to opt out.
Yeah, let's
Better not to.
Yeah, let's not do that. All right. So let's move on to the price report. Let's do that right now. The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer. Aloha, Bawdy.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
Good.
Good,
Moving
man.
along. How about you?
Oh, I'm good. I was excited to hear Doug's rant, but you're holding out.
Please, no. He has a lot to say.
I'm good.
He doesn't stop. Anybody?
I was on Reddit just now trying to find the post you're talking about.
Oh, we put it in
we
the
just
comments.
put it up this morning.
All right, I'll check it out later.
Well,
so
first,
that I can avoid also
it
ranting.
got denied because I put it up as a question. Apparently, you can't put questions on Reddit.
Yeah, it's very strange.
So because I posted it as "Are you going to Monerotopia?" and it labeled it as a question, but now it's up.
You have to use suggestive programming. You are going to Monerotopia.
Exactly.
Then they would leave it up.
Exactly. But take it away, man. Another big week.
You know, it was kind of a big week. You know, I had one idea about Monerotopia. Finding a hacker garage might be useful because it seems like people that like Bitcoin or into crypto hang out at hacker garages sometimes. And I'm sure in Mexico City, I mean, there's like 20 million people there. There's got to be some crypto and Bitcoin meetups. So I might go down there and just try and, I don't know, infiltrate some of the meetups and hand out some cards and see if people want to come.
Yeah, well, actually, now you remind me. So we're going to be down there March
9th. March 9th.
Let me write that down.
March 9th.
Yeah, March 9th. We're actually going down there.
Because we want to make sure everything's sorted out with the venue and the restaurant and everything else we got going on. And then additionally, we're going to throw a meetup down there. We're going to throw a Monero meetup at the Bitcoin Embassy Bar.
Oh, cool.
Right in line with what you're talking about. So I guess they have a lot of crypto meetups there at the Bitcoin Embassy Bar. And we're working with the Decred guy on that. He's helping us out. What's his name? Decred guy?
Elion.
Yeah, he's local to Mexico City. Very nice guy. He's helping us do that. So hopefully we'll get some people to come out. And then we're going to give away some free tickets there in exchange for trying to get locals to help us onboard other locals, like make them aware of the conference.
Is the Bitcoin Embassy Bar, is that like is that related to Start 9? The embassy node?
I don't think so. I don't think it's related.
Okay.
It's the Bitcoin bar in Mexico City.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be related. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone that's I mean, I think it was already said, but if you're on Twitter and you want to see the charts instead of just listening to a bunch of jibber jabber, definitely recommend tuning into YouTube at 720p. And yeah, let's get started. So we had some surprising, maybe not too surprising results this week. Let's go ahead and go all the way to crypto. We'll start with crypto. So to me, the uptrend still looks like it's intact, but you know, we kind of have a ceiling across the board. And at this moment in particular, I'm more uncertain about this pump, about this rally than I have been at any time since it started. So we really wanted to break through this level right here. We really wanted to try and get above that 25K. It's definitely posing us significant resistances here on Bitcoin. I've tried to draw these lines as many different ways as I possibly can, and I think this is probably the best way to draw it. Just a very simple sort of ascending channel here with the splitter in the middle. I'm not too concerned yet, but I did bounce out of a shitcoin or two just in the anticipation that maybe we're going to have more downside. I was fairly confident, if you remember last week, that you want to keep your chips in play. And for the most part, I have, but I felt like it was worth taking some profit and then waiting for a better reentry. I started to lose confidence somewhere around Tuesday or Wednesday. I think I posted about it on Twitter. So for those of you that are interested in price updates, definitely follow me on Twitter because I'll put out midweek stuff. And when it comes to price, things can change very quickly. You can see something that looks nice, it's setting up well, and then some kind of invalidation pattern shows up, and it's like, oh crap, okay, well we might need to pull back. So, anyways, we've still got this nice uptrend here. I would really start to become concerned right around this area if hypothetically that broke down. Now, One of the reasons that I'm not totally concerned as of yet is because this move is not too unexpected. So we're looking at the dollar index right now. And I was kind of expecting that we would actually make it down to this very, this is a decades-long trend line. This trend line starts back in 2011. So I was kind of expecting that we would actually maybe kind of touch that area. Now we got a wick right into that area, and you can see where this horizontal line is drawn because of there. And then right here, although right here, you wouldn't exactly say that's the most natural place to draw the line. So that horizontal line is kind of more like a reference point than exactly a hard resistance or support. But at any rate, if we go down to the lower time frame here, this is a 4 hour now. You know, when we kind of broke through this right here, this downtrending line, you know, that was kind of a sign that that this breakout might happen. So at this point, it does look to me like we're going to continue up. Dixie's going to probably come to this very, very long trend line up here. And just so that you can, again, get a feel for that. It's basically the splitter on this decades long, it's a decade and a half long trend line for the dollar index. So I do expect that we'll probably come up and touch that splitter. In a lot of ways, this kind of is a good thing because it really gives the markets time to digest and consolidate that big move that happened for the past 2 months. And it does kind of make sense that the markets might need to do that, that people are still uncertain. Personally, I haven't seen a ton of bullish sentiment out there, a little bit here and there, but a lot of the personalities that I see on YouTube and Twitter, they're all still kind of like very, very hesitant. And we probably should be, like, we're not out of the woods yet. So yeah, the short story is that the markets to me are fairly uncertain. I'm not exactly quite sure what to do. I've taken some profit. I'm going to probably try and get back in. And then if it breaks to the downside, then I'll just have to take a small loss on that. But since I bought low, for example, since, you know, as you guys know, I was kind of recommending to buy in this area right here, it's still easy to hang on to a trade right here because even coming down to here, even breaking down there, that's still in profit. So it's a good example of why you want to try and get into the markets at the best time that you can. But it is difficult, right? It's not an easy game to play. So the other thing we can look at are these reverse repos. So if you remember last week, I said I maybe kind of suspect that this might be a little bit of a floor down here that looks slightly like a bottoming pattern. Well, that does seem to have been the case, and we've kind of gone up to the 100-day moving average now. This could very easily just kind of sit here for a moment and then come back down. And that would kind of be in line with what we were talking about on Dixie over here. So again, expecting Dixie to continue going up, which was sort of correlated when Dixie was going up for the bear market in crypto and stocks. We had the reverse repos were also going up at the same time, kind of flattened out. And then look like they're trying to start a downtrend. This definitely does look like the beginning of a downtrend. But, you know, things in the markets can move a lot slower than you might realize. It's kind of funny. It's something that I've had to learn over the past couple of years is that you can see something's going to happen, like say the fall of 2020. Like we all know the bull market is coming, but Bitcoin, for example, still hadn't broken out to above 20,000. We know it's coming. And so people tend to be impatient because they kind of get a sense for where the market is going. And they're like, well, why doesn't it just get there now? And personally, I've had to learn that markets do tend to move a lot more slowly than we might realize. And then it's punctuated by these very sharp movements. So gold also is still slightly continuing this downtrend with everything else. I guess that's kind of to be expected. If the rest of risk markets are going down, gold tends to be somewhat correlated. We can take a look at the Z-scores as well, and you can see the dollar index in green here has been going up. Well, basically everything else has been going down, including bonds. So here with bonds, it does look like the 10-year yield is going to try and break out of this horizontal area right here. Again, the markets are pricing in a higher rate, a higher ultimate terminal rate for the Federal Reserve than they were even just a couple months ago. And then oil is still trending in the channel. Nothing special going on here. Let's go to a larger time frame so you can see that easier. Yeah, so basically just still trending in this channel, which is good. We don't want to see anything crazy there. We did get some hot numbers when it comes to like manufacturing. Oh, I can't remember which one it was. It was like ISM or something. It was essentially related. It's like a precursor to inflation or something that relates to inflation. And it did come in a bit hotter. So I think part of this is people are speculating that, well, maybe the Fed is going to have to keep raising farther than they originally stated. But who knows, right? Okay, so we've got the S&P 500 here. And basically, we're kind of testing this bear market trend line. You can see I drew two of them. This gives us kind of a zone of resistance and support. So right now, this is acting as support. And this is kind of like the do or die line. If this thing breaks, it's very likely that a lot of people are going to just panic sell, and we're going to see another big sell-off down towards the bottom of this area here. But it hasn't broken yet, and there's still a very good chance that it could hold. So the ideal scenario for crypto stocks and Monero at this moment is for this to hold and just to kind of quickly come out of here and then, you know, start our way back up. If that happens, then you're very going to likely see something like, so, oops, Alt H, there we go. We're very likely going to see some kind of like ceiling here that's going to get broken. We're kind of seeing a ceiling across the board. So the SSE composite is also called the Shanghai composite. It's basically looking at a composite of all the China stocks, you know, kind of like we have the S&P or the Dow or something like that for American stocks, which sort of summarizes what's happening in the markets. That's what the Shanghai index is. So you can kind of see they're also dealing with sort of this like flat top right here. You know, they can't really, this horizontal area of significance is still kind of getting problems. I've been watching this. I actually was hoping for the first half of last week that that we would get a very clear breaking of this pattern, right? If we could get up here, break this pattern to the upside, that would have been a very clear signal that the rest of risk markets in the United States and crypto was ready to start going. But that did not happen. And so we're kind of still stuck in this, this ascending wedge right here. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Again, nothing is really broken down here. Nothing is as terrible as happened. I'm still in my broad hodl positions. You know, we just might have to be a bit more patient, and, you know, you really have, especially if you're a trader and especially at a time like right now, I like to be on the markets. I like to make sure I keep track of them every day. I've got kind of a separate monitor where I've got some charts pulled up all the time. So I can just sort of get a feel for how price is moving. That even helps with like understanding the dynamics of price. If you're a trader, just seeing it kind of hour by hour, minute by minute, seeing it like that helps you to kind of understand the feel for how the market is. And that is intuitive, and it is a very dangerous thing to trade off of intuition alone, but it can be helpful. So, right, it's a signal, and you just have to understand how to use it and how not to get carried away with it. Let's look at total as well. We skipped over that. Total looks almost exactly the same as Bitcoin. It's actually an easier chart to draw. This entire wedge pattern, sort of a broadening structure, really. But this pattern is a lot easier to draw than Bitcoin. This middle line right here intersects a lot more likely areas, whereas like the Bitcoin middle line intersects, you know, like you could draw this a few different ways, right? You could maybe try and draw that right there. It's funny, when big movements happen, people start trying to draw lines, and the early lines are always very unreliable. So you have to be very willing to redraw your lines as time goes forward and the pattern develops further. So we talked about Ethereum versus Bitcoin last week as well. And let's go to the longer time frame. This is the daily. And despite the fact that it's technically broken down from this rising line, it's actually surprisingly holding up fairly well. So in about 3 days, they're going to release Shanghai on their last testnet. They have 3 testnets, and they're going to release this Shanghai, which is going to unlock everyone's stakes. So that should be bearish for Ethereum, but perhaps a lot of this ratio bearishness for Ethereum versus Bitcoin was people just front running that. So for all we know, it could be like some small spike down after that happens, followed by another quick recovery as people realize that that they're free to stake wherever they want. And they even have something called Rocket, which is like their own version of P2Pool. And I think they've already got like, I want to say it's like 6 or 8, 10%, something like that in their version of P2Pool. So I know a lot of people hate Ethereum, but I have to cover it just because it's really where the big TradFi, a lot of the money is going to be flowing into Ethereum. So we're just going to have to keep track of that, because it's my belief that it's eventually going to flip Bitcoin, probably the next bull market. So all that DeFi craziness, round 2 is coming, right? It all basically kind of worked. Yeah, there was a bunch of scams, but there's no way to avoid that. But all the stable coins, and I think everyone saw Coinbase, for example, released some kind of layer 2 on Ethereum, which is going to be centralized and stupid, but there are other layer 2s on Ethereum that aren't quite so bad. So just, again, just know that's coming. I just want all my Monero peeps to understand the broader dynamics of what's happening in the market here. Okay, so now finally to Monero. And we're basically looking at kind of staying in that same sideways triangle that we've been in for quite a while, for basically the whole bear market. We've beaten that first resistance. That looks good. I don't think that we're going to fall below that. These kind of other horizontal areas of significance right here at 134, 141. And, you know, those are approximate areas. It's not like a hard and fast area. It's just I use that for kind of visual reference personally. So that's what the daily looks like. We still haven't broken out of the final Big Boss Daddy bear market resistance line. But basically, oh, I forgot to show you guys the longer term. I'm sorry, schizophrenia here. I'm going to go back to Bitcoin and total really quick. We're going to look at the larger picture here just so that you can get a quick view on that. Okay, so we've got our bear market resistance lines here on Bitcoin. And I just wanted you guys to see that we're basically back below that. We're sort of in this zone, in this channel of bear market resistance. It's like we got above it for a moment. And I wanted to show you that because Monero kind of did the same thing over here. We just barely poked above it, and then we're kind of back down inside the range. And then total looks basically the same way as well. And to the daily. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you can see total very much looks the same. Basically broke through. Although total does look slightly better in this regard. So it's kind of funny because if you draw a horizontal line at the FTX Dgoon level, which happened right here, we're kind of still flirting with that line. Like total is having a hard time getting above that, whereas Bitcoin, on the other hand, this right here is the FTX Dgoon line. We're still well above that on Bitcoin. So, but then at the same time, total has sort of more cleanly broken through this bear market resistance. Whereas Bitcoin is still kind of like trying to get above that final most shallow line that you could draw. So sorry about that. Sorry to go back and be a bit schizophrenic, but yeah. So Monero's kind of doing the same thing. We're a little bit further down. We're kind of more inside of this range here, and obviously, we prefer to break that. We've got the ratio. Oh, sorry. One more thing. I wanted to look at Z-scores. So if we look at Z-scores on kind of the long time frame, you can see that there's a very clear uptrend. Right, they're basically on their way up. But if we look at it on the shorter time frame, like the 4 hour, you can see that we're kind of in this downtrend right here, right? These Z-scores are all trending down. Now, we're seeing a little bit of, you would want to call this divergence, but it's not really divergence so much as it's just volatility dropping off. So whenever you see Z-scores or even RSI doing this thing where you see the bottoms are getting higher and then the tops are getting lower, people will say, oh, look at that RSI divergence or look at that those Z-score divergence. But it's not really so much that. What's actually happening is you're just compressing the volatility there. So you have to be careful. That's an easy mistake to make. Let's take a look at the RSI as well. Let's see if we see something similar. Yeah, it's basically very similar. We've got kind of this downtrend on the top side and this uptrend on the bottom side. And you might be tempted to call this divergence, and it might be. We kind of need to see a little bit more of this play out, but it might not be. It could just be decreasing volatility over this larger time frame. So just something to keep in mind for the people that use RSI out there. It's a common mistake. It's an easy one to make. And then we can look at finally the Bitcoin versus Monero versus Bitcoin ratio. We got the Z-scores, which is kind of the same thing. This on the other hand does look like it might be a little bit of divergence. It depends on which time frame you look at, right? So the purple and blue lines, those are longer time frames. You can see they're basically still kind of trending down. But then you can look at the green, and that's kind of double bottomed. It's not really divergence, but it is setting up in such a way that might be the case. That might be what it's going to do. So we'll start with the daily. Again, when you start feeling blue and sour about the ratio, just zoom out and take a look and say, hey, this is where we were 4 years ago or 3 years ago. So yes, we would like to be farther ahead. Obviously, we think that, there has clearly been a significant amount of Monero adoption since this point down here. We're kind of battling some of these nefarious forces here for price. But overall, again, there are very few charts when you look at them against Bitcoin that they are very clearly in an uptrend, that they're very clearly higher. Like this is early Monero price. And even though we had this crazy blow off here because, people back in 2016 and 2017 had a little bit more principle than all the moon boys that we have now. But the simple fact is that we still are overall at the launch price and significantly above those early days price. And we're sitting here holding steady relative to Bitcoin, even despite the fact, think about it, Bitcoin had the richest man in the world buy. It has nations that have bought. It's on every exchange. It's got the most visibility. Everybody knows what Bitcoin is, right? Compare that to Monero, which is on hardly any exchanges, which is price suppressed and fractionally reserved, which everyone says, oh, they're just going to ban it and all this other stuff. And yet we're sitting here holding steady with Bitcoin. Like, that's incredible. If you really think about it, the fact that we can hold our price to Bitcoin when most of the altcoins are losing value to Bitcoin. Like Litecoin, this bear market, Litecoin made new all-time lows relative to Bitcoin, whereas Monero is sitting here and holding its own. So again, I just want you guys, like, I know that people get kind of, I see it on XMR Trader. There's people that kind of bounce out and they're like, no, I can't do this anymore. But overall, like, this is phenomenal. The fact that Monero is so suppressed and hated and not included in most of the crypto ecosystem, yet it's still holding its own for the better part of 3, almost 4 years now. So as we talked about for the past few weeks, when this area broke down here, we kind of had to say, yeah, there's a very good chance we could come visit the 006 level here, which does seem to be kind of what's happening. So I don't have any good opinions. I don't have any like solid reason to believe that it's going to go one way or another. I guess hypothetically, if we expect that eventually markets are going to continue up, we might have more ratio problems. So yeah, sorry, I don't have any good opinions there to share with you guys, or any good predictions.
We got. I mean, this isn't TA, but we got the Monero run coming up. We got Monerotopia. We got Monerokon.
That's a good point. The
all very bullish things. I mean, I know that's not TA, but you might see some positive effect there. Do you think?
Yeah, the money run has done pretty good in the past with in terms of price increases.
Why are they doing it on this date? Is that when they did it last year?
Yeah, we did it last year on April 18th, and that's Monero's birthday. So
oh shit!
It's an appropriate date.
Okay. Yeah. Forgot about that. We'll have to have a special show. What day? What day does that fall on?
April 18th. That would be a Tuesday.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. My Rain Man isn't good enough to tell you for sure, but I think it's a Tuesday.
Oh yeah, man. Good points though, with the fact that Monero is holding up throughout time and slowly crawling up against Bitcoin, despite the fact that you have to like put in work to obtain Monero. It's not it's not easy. There's friction, right? If you want to get like in New York, I've been telling people for years, talking about it. They're always like, "Oh, how do I get it?" Like, well,
step one, get a
people that don't even know
VPN.
crypto to begin with, and like they're ready to like dabble in it, and it's like, well, they don't have it on any exchanges in New York. It's like, why? But yeah, granted, it makes them more curious, and then those that are willing to put in the effort figure out how to get it. But it is pretty amazing that people are still like obtaining it in such a organic way, right?
Yeah, 100%.
The other thing we never talk about too is like in when we had that big run up, I guess that was 2017, 20. I remember like one of the big things that led that run up was the exchanges in I think it was like Korea, right? You remember that?
Did they ban Moneros like that far ago?
No, then it was banned after that. But when we saw, it was that summer of, I think, 2018. That was one of the biggest run-up moments when I think it had gotten added to a exchange. I believe it was in Korea. It could have been Japan. I believe it was Korea, and it got added to the exchange, and there was a major pump. But now it's like delisted from a lot of these exchanges. So
yeah, Japan, South Korea, UK, New York, Australia.
So,
but really, it's only a handful of countries, if you think about it.
But I get, the idea being, do you think that could be a major catalyst for Monero, right? Once those places start to open up again, because I think, my theory is, right, we're retreating right now. I mean, we're not. Monero isn't, but whatever. That we're under attack. You're going to see perhaps more delistings. Maybe we didn't peak there in terms of max amount of delistings of Monero and countries calling it out, but at some point you're going to start to see the opposite, where countries start going beyond, have had enough time to realize that it doesn't make sense to ban an unstoppable technology. In fact, they'd be able to gain more insight into it if they embrace it, right? They'd be able to gain more data, which is ultimately what they want to do, right? So if they embrace it, allow it to be on centralized exchanges, I do think that's going to be a catalyst for Monero when you start to see that shift.
That seems probable, maybe in like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years time.
Yeah, I don't know what
has like very clear adoption and everyone's using it.
Yeah.
then the government's kind of do that. Like they'll be like, no, you can't do this. And then as soon as too many people start doing it, they'll be like, well, it's fine.
Right.
But I guess we have to add Dubai to that list now, don't we?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There's not really any consensus in the Monero community about whether it will be banned completely or almost everywhere, or whether it will be completely opened up. There are people that yeah, I want it to be banned. Everywhere should ban it. I hope it's, let's just get it over with. And they think it's going to be like that forever. Whereas, like right now you're expressing that, well, eventually they're all going to open up again. I think probably over the long, my belief is that over long time frames, humanity is becoming more and more free across multiple different metrics. So it would make sense that, yeah, eventually we should see Monero opened up across exchanges, but it could take a decade, right? It might take some time.
Yeah, it's like trying to hold back the internet, right? China, has done a decent wall with its firewalls, but it's pretty hard to hold back the adoption of something like Monero. It's pretty much impossible, and it has real utility to the point where people want. Even now, we're seeing it. They go out of their way to get it, so it's inevitable. And so I do think we'll start to see a shift towards countries eventually starting to embrace it. I think we're on the other side of that pendulum right now, but I think it will shift back.
Yeah. I wanted to make one more plug. So the divergences script, I published that this past week. So anyone that wants to take a look at this chart, which tells you how the different exchanges are doing relative to Binance. So you can kind of see for the past 3-4 days, largely they've been in negative divergences. When we were talking last week, where was that? Yeah, we were in negative divergences when we were talking last week. They kind of went positive for a moment after the last price report, and then they kind of dipped back down into the negative. But at any rate, I just wanted to show people that this script is now publicly available. I posted it on Twitter, and I'll post a link here in the YouTube video in a second after we get off. Let me show you just a couple of the options. So look back. This is kind of the moving average. So you have to take, ideally, we would take a second by second divergence between, like, say, Binance and Kraken. And then you would calculate the percentage difference that is. But the thing is, sometimes they're above, sometimes they're below, but you have to average all that out. So right now, for example, I'm on a 5-minute chart, and the look back is 48 candles or 48 periods, which equates to a 4-hour look back. So that's what this look back is. You can choose to make the volume adjustment, which I recommend that you do, because if you can have a large divergence, but that doesn't matter if you didn't do any volume there, right? Or if you have a small divergence where a lot of volume was done, that's also significant. So you can do this by the close price. You can tell it, okay, look at, show us the divergences between the highest price that Kraken has had, show us the divergence between the lowest price between Kraken and the other exchanges, or between the close price. And I pretty much always leave that on close price. You can also choose to show the sum of all of these. Now, I mostly just look at Binance. The others I keep in here just kind of like for gee whiz purposes. But these other exchanges, like Binance is bad enough, but these other exchanges are probably faking their volumes to a significant degree. So it's really kind of hard to say for sure that they're actually reliable. Binance is probably at least slightly more reliable since they're kind of in trouble with the law right now, and they're probably on slightly better behavior. But anyways, you can do sum of all. You can add all these up. That's only relevant if you make the volume adjustment. If you don't make the volume adjustment, then summing them up doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then you can choose which of these exchanges you want to include in that sum. So that's kind of how to use this. Like I said, I'll post a link after we get off the price report here. And yeah, it's free for everyone to use.
Sweet.
Awesome,
man. Great job, as always.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it, as always.
As always, thank you. Everyone enjoys it. Everyone looks forward to your report.
Yes.
So thank you very much for taking the time on your Saturday morning and sharing it with us.
You got
doing this every Saturday morning. It's crazy.
You got any flight practice coming up, man?
I have a flight next week, actually, to Puerto Vallarta in a Cessna 182. Ooh. So that'll be my first flight in like the last 10, 11 months. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Dude.
Puerto Vallarta's nice.
Well, we'll pay for you to take us on a flight down there, man. We'll pay you in Monero to take us on a flight.
We'll see if I can make it happen in time. So I called up this flight school, and what they told me was that I have to go get permission from the Mexican FAA, and that's a whole bunch of paperwork. So then they have to approve me, and then I have to do 10 hours here in Mexico to fly Mexican registered aircraft. So like I could fly, it's like November, it starts with N. So U.S. aircraft start with in, and I can fly those into Mexico and really anywhere in the world, but I can't actually fly Mexican registered aircraft unless I get approval from the Mexican FAA. So I'm working on that so I can start renting airplanes down here. So I'm not sure if I can make that happen before Monerotopia.
We'd love to be your guest. Obviously,
cool.
not paying customers, but maybe we would send you a tip as a gift.
Yeah, we can split the cost of the flight, and that's
right.
Totally within the law.
Look at you guys.
Flies down to Oaxaca after Monerotopia, flying out with Bawdy.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. That's all, everyone. Goodbye.
Monero pumping against Bitcoin.
Like Greece or something.
Yeah. As long as we don't crash, though, right? Then the conspiracies after that, right? They'd be like, what happened?
Oh, yeah. They took out Doug. His Monerotopia was getting too big.
As Monero then takes off, that'll be the moment.
Nah, no, it's Mexico, man. The Mexican Air Force.
Like, fuck, I missed out on it. I had to be a martyr.
Good. All right, calm down.
I'm discounting the fact that you're there too.
I know. Thanks, guys. You heard it live here.
Sunita can come too.
Sunita survives. She'll have a parachute. Somehow she'll miraculously survive.
Yeah.
Now these planes are fine. Like you train to lose your engine. Like if you lose your engine, you just have a glider and you set it down somewhere in a field or something like that. Yeah.
No, I've been on them quite a few times.
You went bungee jumping, right? You or no? I
went. Well, bungee from a plane. No, I went skydiving.
I'm sorry, skydiving. Yeah. That's what I was saying. I was like, why is that so? Sorry, skydiving.
Yeah, I went skydiving.
I went hang gliding.
But then I blew out my eardrum.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I love it.
Wow.
It's fun. I only did it once. Yeah, I have like ear issues. So I blew it out doing that, and then once jumping off a cliff in Greece from like a high height.
Did you not do like the Valsalva maneuver or whatever?
Oh, with the pressurizing your, depressurizing your.
Yeah, where you equalize your ears every, I don't know, 100 feet or 500 feet or something.
I just don't. I just have issues with my ears to the point that they I guess that doesn't work for me. But yeah, I've always had from when I was a kid.
I see.
I ended up blowing out my eardrum multiple times. I had to get surgery on it.
Dang.
But no skydiving. We could certainly fly a plane.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do my best to get all my currencies and get my Mexican side of everything sorted. So hypothetically, we could rent a plane. Mexico is slow when it comes to paperwork, but I'll do my best.
All right, here's the hoping. Yay!
Righty.
All righty. Thank you so much, Bawdy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man,
for the report. Adios.
Talk to you later.
Bye bye. All righty, let's move on to the dev segment. Woo!
And now for the Monero Development Segment.
Aloha. You're muted.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's currently snowing, which is so weird here because it was literally 80 degrees outside, but I'm doing pretty well.
You sure that's snow, right? Wasn't there like white powder falling down on people? And
well, I don't know what it is. I'm currently inside, so
wait,
I'm gonna hop on Google before I go outside.
You see that on Twitter?
Yeah, I saw that. Like a bunch of dust covered the cars.
What's that?
I saw on Twitter like a bunch of like theories around what it was. People told people to stay inside. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Shit, man. Get a filter. Close your windows.
We
need you. We need you.
All righty, take it away.
But yeah, today we'll be going over multi-signature in Monero and pretty much why multi-signature is important. If you're not familiar with Alphabet or the news around Alphabet, Alphabet was one of the largest darknet markets, period, a couple years ago, and the first one got shut down. And then Alphabet 2 came back essentially, and people now suspect that it is also down. Like, there's no evidence that it's like been hacked or they exit scammed, but pretty much the exchange is not currently working anymore, which is a problem. If you had your money on the exchange, you were using this exchange. And problems like this, when you have a centralizing party, isn't really peer-to-peer, right? Because that's not the point of Monero. The point of Monero is to be peer-to-peer, and this is I would say majorly like a technical issue. And the reason you can't do like true peer-to-peer marketplace like this is because of Monero's lack of multi-signature technology, essentially. So just a quick overview. Alphabet is an online market that went down, and they held the customers' funds, things like that. So customers and retailers on the platform can't get their money out. But this issue isn't specific to just darknet markets, right? It's any market. This is something that we face at Anon Shop. This is something like if you use like moneromarket.io, they also hold the customer's fund and act as a middle person. But when Monero gets multi-signature that's easy to use, this issue will be solved. So let's go a little bit over that specific point. First, what is multi-signature? Probably most of the wallets you use today just have one key, and pretty much the idea is that you hold the funds to your keys, right? So only one person controls the keys. For example, if Doug has a Monero wallet for Monerotopia, he controls the keys for that wallet, right? So one key, one wallet. What multi-signature does is that it allows you to have three keys that control a wallet. For example, let's say you had $10,000 in Monero, and you did want to trust all that on one key. What you could do is actually split those keys across, split that money across three keys. That way, in order to lose this money, you would have to have two of the keys sign the transaction, for example. And you can do any type of keys, right? You can have like 3 out of 10 multi-sig, where you need three keys, but the most popular form of multi-signature is 2 out of 3 keys. So you would need 2 out of 3 keys to release the funds. And you might be asking yourself, how does that help marketplaces right now? Well, in a normal marketplace on the left here, you can see that pretty much the users give their money to the marketplace, and the marketplace holds all the funds, right? But let's say the marketplace, gets hacked, right? They do nothing wrong, they get hacked. That would mean that all the users would lose their money, right? Everyone loses their money because there's only one key holding everything between these funds. But if you go to the right and you would have multi-sig, you could imagine that instead of putting all your money to the store, you would simply do a 2 out of 3 multi-sig. So for example, in this case, the person on the left would be able to person on the left would basically put their money in the wallet, and all 3 people will be able to spend from the wallet as long as they get agreement from 2 out of the 3 parties, right? So let's say there's a hack and the store goes down. Well, that's not a big deal anymore because the store is only one person out of the 2 out of 3. So the people still using the peer-to-peer platform can still get their funds out, essentially, right? So it sort of protects people from when things go down. And once again, I want to be clear that this doesn't only affect dark markets, right? This isn't just something that affects dark markets. This is something that affects any market. Anon Shop experiences this. Local Monero has this issue also. And then also moneromarket.io has this issue, right? Because if you don't have multi-signature, you can't really have peer-to-peer transactions without the store acting as a middle person, essentially. So I'm sorry about going too fast. Any questions from?
No, this is good stuff, man. I mean, I don't want to throw a curveball at you, but what do you think of Rhino? Have you been keeping your eye on that?
That's literally coming up. Yeah.
They figured out they are doing multi-sig on Monero.
Yeah.
So Monero,
yeah, they are.
It's not easy to do multi-sig, but if you're binary, you can do it.
Yeah, but you're right. So we're gonna get into that in a couple of slides. So I'm gonna pause that question for now. But that's a really good question. Wow, yeah, you're plugged in. But so there were some problems with Monero multi-sig. There was a bug released about a year ago where if you let's say one of the people using it was malicious, they will be able to create the wallet and the address in a way that they can steal the funds, essentially. So big issue. There was a responsible disclosure around this. People were like, hey, your money is safe if you don't use this type of wallet. Don't spend from it, and then until we get this patched. But as Doug hinted at earlier, Rhino is a company that their main business model is offering multi-signature wallets on the Monero network, right? So there was a $10,000 bounty they put out, and I believe that bounty plus community members were able to patch this bug and get it running. And like Doug said, Rhino is able to do multi-signature. They're like a web wallet at this point. So it is, you do have to trust the software that they run on the web wallet. I don't think they have a desktop client yet. I think it's only web wallet, but you should check them out. Really cool stuff they're doing. And it's really cool that they were able to put a lot of money to get this issue patched up. And also, you can currently do a multi-signature on the Monero command line also. But like, obviously, that's not easy, right? If you want to go spend money on Monero Market, you don't want to require customers to be able to pop up a command line and do all this fancy stuff. So what we really need is open source, verifiable multi-signature in the Monero GUI, and that's coming soon-ish, pretty much, right? There's literally a pull request sitting in the repo right now where someone has done the majority of the work to integrate multi-signature into the GUI, but they want to just wait until it's less experimental, make sure there's no bugs, make sure it's very secure before they open it up to regular users, I would say. So that's pretty much a development going on. Like a major thing right now, if you follow dark markets or any kind of marketplace, and you really are a big fan of peer-to-peer markets, this is going to completely change the game once Monero gets multi-signature in the GUI. And I want to be clear also, this isn't an issue that just affects Monero. I believe Zcash also lacks shielded multi-signature transactions in a GUI format right now. And they don't even have like hardware wallet support for shielded transactions. So Monero is definitely leading the space when it comes to privacy coins that have multi-signature support. And so it's just hard when you're building new technology, right? You have to do so many integrations. It's very difficult and takes a lot of time. And that's pretty much an issue. But that's the one thing that Bitcoin has over Monero right now is simple multi-signature support. But like without privacy, none of that really matters, honestly. In my opinion, to each his own. But that's pretty much I guess, overview of the Monero dev support. Like, we need multi-signature is coming. It'll take time, but once it opens, we can build so many cool things on Monero.
Dude, fantastic job as always. I'm excited for Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool because I just saw somebody tweeting today like, crypto is never going to be adopted because people can't, or it's never going to be adopted in a pure form, right? People are always going to rely on centralized whatever exchanges and wallets because otherwise it's too difficult to use. But Rhino is kind of the perfect example of where the experience of using it is really no different than signing into your bank account, right?
Yeah.
Except in this instance, you always have control of your funds. The bank can never run away with them, and they can't see how much you have in your wallet. But you're not worried about, am I going to lose my hardware device? Whatever did I write down? Like you can rely on this pseudo centralized company that can provide you a service in a decentralized way where they ultimately don't have any control. So it's a really nice sweet spot in user experience once you start doing things like that with multi-sig and Monero.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. It is a big step in improvement, but I think currently they're only a web wallet, so there's a lot of security issues around that. But it's much better than other web wallets, definitely, and it's pretty cool for more Accenture also. But it's not just like it's not the same security that you would get from the Monero GUI if it had multi-signature. But it's definitely a big step in the right direction.
Yeah. But I'm saying, it meets that sweet spot of usability, right? So it's a web. You're logging into it on a browser just like you would log into your bank, right?
Yeah.
And so as long as people don't steal your password, it's effectively as secure. I mean, it's open source, right? So it's not like you're trusting Rhino Bank, right? So it's pretty interesting. It's
really cool stuff.
It does meet a nice sweet spot in terms of usability versus still using Monero in a decentralized way.
Yeah, I mean, they're really cool people. They put, $10,000 to fix a bug is like amazing. So they obviously are onto something here, right? It's not just
it's run by Binary, who's amazing. I don't know if you're familiar. He's one.
Binary Fate.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. What's a small world? Wow.
He's we're trying to get them. They'll probably be at the conference. We start talking to them, so we'll have them maybe try to get them to do like at least like an update, like a 10-minute lightning talk on it. I'd love to, I think that'd be good.
Talks. Yeah, just keep it.
Well, for them, just to get the word out on what Rhino currently is today and where it's headed.
I mean, of course. Yeah, wow. I didn't know there was Binary Fate. It's Monero space is such a small world. Everyone's working together, and like especially with the pseudo, like the anonymity factor. There's still people who I'm like, that's you. I had no idea that was you.
I know, it's
really cool.
Yeah, that's it. it's funnier in person. You're like, oh, you're the person.
Yeah.
Behind that username, but then you get used to just calling them by their username, even though you know their name.
How's Anon Shop going, man?
It's going really well. We're getting more orders. I'm just trying to do better promotions on Twitter. We're about to hit 1,000 followers, so I'm really excited about that. We're doing pretty well.
You're killing it on Twitter. Even these presentations are so pretty. Like, where'd you get that? That was AI you're using to quickly make your art?
Oh yeah, the AI art. I'm using Midjourney. Yes, I'm sure it took a while to get used to that. Yeah.
You're spitting out good stuff, man. So good. Thank you, man. Anything else you want to throw out there for this week?
I think that's it for development. I'm really excited for Monerotopia. I'm super excited for the next person up, Firo. I mean,
Firo, yeah.
I've read their papers. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm like, it's gonna be so dialed in for this interview. I'm so excited.
Stick around if you can. Stick around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, stick around if you can, because then we'll bring you up for questions and stuff. You could ask him some questions you have.
Ooh, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. All right, awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you so much for doing the report.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Amazing contribution to the show.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye. All righty. So we'll move on to our guest segment. Woohoo. Oh no, this mouse.
Is he putting up like a Monero tip address or anything so you get tips from the community?
No, but I will. Definitely will.
Right? We got for Tony and
let's
Bawdy.
do this. Okay. Hold on one second. The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by CakeWallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. CakeWallet is open source, and you always control your own keys. Hello, Reuben.
Hello. Thanks, CakeWallet, for sponsoring this.
I actually thought about it before. I was like, this is hilarious. This is going to be very fun. You're welcome.
Dude, you made it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You hacked the system.
I'm loving your background.
I
man.
know.
Yeah, I have a lot of Magic the Gathering trading cards behind. It's just kind of messy.
I thought that was your actual window, your view right now.
I wish. But my shirt, citizens not suspects. I think that's a good reason of why we're into privacy, right?
Yeah, right. Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, that's important.
What's going on, man? So we're excited. We're excited to have you down in Monerotopia.
Yeah, it's a super long flight. It's like, I think 40 over hours. I'm like, man, this is like the worst.
40 hours?
Yeah, because it's
twice. You're gonna like do us drive like a flyby and come back around.
Well, probably
it's literally that I have to fly to like I think it's like Doha and then fly somewhere else and then get to Mexico. It's almost as far as you can get. I remember like that part that was like really hard to get to.
We need Bawdy to pick you up in a private jet.
I wish, right?
All right. So other than the flight, we're very excited that you'll be attending Monerotopia.
I'm very excited. Yeah.
Now, is it just going to be you, anybody else from the Firo team that's going to be down there?
Just me. I mean, I've been trying to. I mean, like Diego's not part of the the Firo team, but he's done a lot of work for both Monero and Firo, and I'm still trying to get him to come, but we'll see. But it'll be good to see some familiar faces. You guys, I think I haven't seen you guys since the Monero Village at DEF CON. Was that no?
Yeah.
Was that the last time?
That was a long time.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
COVID and stuff. Gosh,
we've been talking to that was DEF CON before that, right? That was like before the COVID thing, right? That was the
COVID.
Yeah.
Because we also went kind of during COVID.
Yeah, we went during COVID. Yeah. We've been talking to Diego, but I think he's got a lot of family stuff going on right now, like good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. So that's we'll see.
Okay, so. Yeah, man. Give us the rundown on Firo for those that aren't familiar with it. I bet you there's quite a few people tuning into Monerotopia right now that actually aren't familiar with it.
So give a quick
sure. So like Firo's privacy coin, just like Monero. I guess we started in 2016. We were originally known as Zcoin. and we were like the first implementation of zero coin. I mean, back then, it was like the zero knowledge proof privacy protocol, right? I mean, I know Monero uses zero knowledge proofs, but it was like a different approach to the zero knowledge proofs. So we started out with the zero coin implementation, and then now we've kind of like developed a lot. Like we've actually changed a bunch of privacy protocols, like building, like we went from zero coin to Sigma, which removes the trusted setup, and then from Sigma we went to Lelantus, which is what we're coming out, and very excited to talk about Spark maybe a bit later on. And yeah, I guess we're considered pretty OGs in the space in the terms of like, especially now, like there's this whole ZK trend, right? And we're like, hey, don't forget about us. Like we were one of the first people who started implementing ZK. And I think one of the things that we're trying to do is that, there's actually like kind of a lack of, I would say, development of, I would say, simpler privacy protocols. Like right now, there's all this interest in generalized zero knowledge proof and like circuits like ZK snarks or Halo and all of that, but I think there is some value in like the simpler constructions that offer a lot of privacy. Like we're using specialized ZKPs, and actually our work in Spark has I think greatly inspired the work in Seraphis, which is Monero's next gen privacy protocol. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell. We are still largely on Binance. I mean, that's a case for most coins, but yeah.
And I saw something with Majestic Bank mentioning you, like I guess.
Yeah.
Coin that they could trade.
So they just added our support, added Firo support to their stuff. This was like the first time we heard about them, and we saw they were like quite popular in the Monero community. So it's pretty nice to see this cross collaboration, and it's available in Swap, in Stack Wallet, which also uses Majestic Bank. So yeah, really nice to see them like adding us and being more in tune with the Monero, like I guess like similarly like-minded individuals. Like we'll be in touch with Luke, like Kayaba Nerve from Sarai as well. Of course, we're good friends with Justin and all these cool people and you guys. So I think it's quite nice that there was no like antagonistic response. I think everyone knows that we're there to further the same goal. So I am really happy to be part, because I think right now the number one enemy is like us getting banned and delisted. I think all of us are feeling it, especially as privacy coins, and I feel like we're fighting amongst each other. We should be uniting the fight against this giant alien trying to wipe us out, right? I mean, that's rather than like killing each other. We can kill each other after we've beaten the alien, right?
It's like the best form of attack against those who are like want to use cryptography for preserving liberty is to just turn everybody against each other, right? Because it's just a small group to begin with. So how do you kill them? Divide and conquer. So yeah, I think it's important that we realize that there's much more that we have in common than what divides us, right? What would you to that end? What would you say really different? I know there's you talk about some of the technical differences, but kind of where do you see Firo in the space? Like what role do you see it playing versus something like Monero or something like Zcash?
Sure. Well, I mean, like first of all, I think Monero is very clear, like we're just going to be private cryptocurrency. And I know there was this whole debate that I've been following, like, oh, should we have Monero NFTs, and there was like a lot of like the ordinal type of stuff. And I guess we are much more flexible on that. We see ourselves, we are a privacy cryptocurrency, that's I guess our roots and stuff, but we are also building a privacy ecosystem, which is going to be powered by Spark. And that would actually what we call Spark assets, where people can create their own private cryptocurrencies or tokens or voting tokens or stable coins and enjoy all the same kind of privacy features as Firo, right? And of course, like, once the Lantern Spark is out, the anonymity set is a much larger, like at least on the per transaction basis, we're looking at like 65,000 versus like, I think now it's 16 in Monero in terms of ring sizes. And we also like the beautiful thing about, I guess I would say, Spark assets is that even if, let's say, like, Firo does not have as many transactions in Firo itself, if other people build their coins or whatever that they want on our Spark asset system, those transactions are indistinguishable from Firo transactions as well. So everyone's transactions increases everyone's anonymity set. So that's pretty exciting for us, and we see like, we want people building on us, we want people using in us, and I think there is currently someone that's trying to build a like a stablecoin bridge on at least our asset layer. So we're quite interested to see how that comes about. But I guess we're much more flexible, and I would say that our privacy protocol is pretty unique. We do have good multi-sig, so which is also it hides the fact that it's a multi-sig. We're very, very aware of the need for very good multi-sig transactions that are efficient and also easy to implement, especially like something especially when we're fighting, when we need all these cross-chain DEXs, and most cross-chain DEX solutions require some sort of efficient multi-sig. Like I think Sarah DEX also requires it, right? And I think Luke has also done kind of some work on seeing how that might look like as well. So yeah, I guess what was the initial question?
What is it about the Firo architecture that allows you to have simple, easy to use multi-sig? Like,
so our main innovation with Spark, which was the flexible, the flexible stealth address structure, which is what we call Spark addresses. And this is something that will also probably come to Seraphis if it's deployed. I'm not sure whether it's going to be deployed. I hope that it is. But we designed it to be, multi-sig support and also like full type of view key support. Like right now, Monero only has like incoming view key support and not outgoing view key support. We have like full view key support. You can ingoing, outgoing, and we can even delegate like the proving or like, to a not trusted device, and still like, so that's good for hardware wallets, right? You don't want to be doing all these like very intense ZKP computations on your small little hardware wallet. So we can offload that to your PC or your mobile phone. They can do that while still keeping the spend authority within this small little hardware device. And when we were designing this, we had all these things, this checklist that we want in mind. This is kind of why it's such a big deal, why Spark is such a big deal. Like I think Seraphis, back then it was called 0CT. The big thing that it was missing was actually the addressing structure, and basically that whole addressing structure was taken from us. Not taken, well, just like the whole construction was basically it is the same thing. Now I think it deviates slightly for certain reasons, for compatibility and whatnot. But I mean, this is that was a design goal. Yeah. So yeah.
What would you say? I mean, this might be more of a question, but what really differentiates Lelantis from Seraphis?
Oh, that's a good question. So I mean, the first thing is that, look, I think we have different aims. Actually, some people might say my researchers think it's exactly the same, like just with minor differences. But the way that we're implementing it is also different, because Monero obviously right now enjoys very, very large transaction volumes, right? Or when we say there's a lot of transactions happening, Firo doesn't have that currently. So we cater our transactions to have much, much larger anonymity sets at the sacrifice of some performance, but that can be mitigated in what we call batching techniques. So batching techniques is, yes, maybe it takes quite a long time to to verify a single transaction, let's say 1 second, which is really, really long. I mean, like 1 second or 1.5 seconds. But the things that what the techniques that we use is that we can kind of aggregate them. So that means the time to verify a single transaction, and if you add each, like if you batch them together, you can actually, so each additional transaction maybe only takes another 50 milliseconds or so. So you pay this one large cost, but even you have 1,000 transactions, it doesn't increase that verification time a lot. So that's why we think like, well, okay, you know, we don't have this, you know, legacy ring signature type of approach that we need. So we, instead of like, where in Seraphis is kind of like, we're using this to build larger ring sizes, which is not what our approach is. Our approach is to almost replicate global anonymity sets. So that means everyone goes into this single anonymity pool, and there's no like rings with it. It's this like this giant anonymous pool. So right now, because of performance reasons, the pools are 65,000 in size, but I don't know how to explain this in the easy way. Instead of like, you know, forming your rings over like all the different outputs, like in Monero, you know, we formed it from everyone that has made a commitment to the anonymity pool. So that means you burn your coins, you put it into the shielded pool or whatever, and that set continuously increases. But when it's full, we actually start a new set with some overlap with the first set. So that it is unclear, like, you know, well, you know, there might be some overlap. You could be spending from the first one, you could be spending the second one. Obviously, I would think that is not ideal, but we have some really exciting research that we are halfway through, which is the exploration of using curve trees, which may also have applicability to Monero as well, that might allow global anonymity sets similar to Zcash or whatever. No trusted setup, you know, still very simple constructions and whatnot, and very, very good performance. So that's now in R&D. And I guess it's like, you know, we are a small, relatively small project, but we put out, I personally feel we put on a lot of good research and work, and that's being used in other cryptocurrencies besides ours. So yeah.
And so wait, and Firo is private by default?
No, right now we are private. All our wallets are private by default, but not mandatorily enforced. And there's a reason for that. You know, I can hear the Monero people. Oh yeah, you know, that's good. I know the whole argument, but you have to realize.
I'm setting you up for that one. I'm like, no.
No, I totally get it. And we have to realize where we came from. We came from Zero Coin. Zero Coin didn't have anything like shielded addresses or stuff. Nothing. It's like burn it, redeem it. You're still using the transparent addresses, so the amounts are still exposed. So coming from that, we couldn't like, you know, remove it completely. Now with Spark, we now have that ability to say, let's go, you know, private only, but, you know, we're also very mindful of the ecosystem. And what we're going to try to do is to start allowing, you know, we're going to make all our wallets like, you know, Spark addresses only and stuff like that. Yes, you can withdraw to a transparent address, but we kind of want to abstract that transparent layer away and eventually remove it. But, you know, a lot of people say, you know, just bang it and hit us, you know. I think people underestimate, like, we can do that on a philosophically perspective, but if it would kill the project, it also is self-defeating, right? Because, you know, we're much smaller.
Why are you saying it would kill the project, though?
Okay, let's say if all our major exchanges say, nope, we're not going to bother to do the integration work to do that. I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, we are still relying on centralized. All of us are relying on centralized exchanges. Of course, there are better DEX solutions coming, but we all know that for adoption, we still need the centralized exchanges for now. But, you know, I think there is a balance to be had, right? And I mean, just imagine we are a number 600 coin, $30 million. You know, would an exchange, you know, do all the engineering work to support Spark addresses? But what we are trying to convince them is to say, hey, look, We can deposit, in a way, this would avoid the problem that Monero is having with Binance, in the sense that you're wondering like, well, how much Monero does Binance have, right? But now, because I think it's unlikely for Binance to switch to spot addresses anytime soon, we know exactly how much Binance has inside there. So I guess that's like a pro and con. And what we are hoping to do is to allow withdrawals to Spark addresses. So yeah, you do all your transparent stuff on Binance, right? But then when you withdraw it out, it goes into a Spark address and it disappears. So I think that's
similar to Zcash, the way the kind
similar to Zcash, but yeah, I think.
And so
I think.
When you say, the concern with the exchanges is that you're concerned that they won't want to put in the work to update their ability to list Firo, or is it also regulatory concerns that they
both?
Okay.
Both. I mean, Monero is in the, I would say, envied position, right? Because it's one of the OGs. They got in before like all the regulation became really in, and you have to see like the exchanges that keep you guys. I mean, yeah, your volume is quite big, but even if they lost Monero, it wouldn't be such a big blow, right? Like, compared to many other coins, right? So for them, it's like, they realize that there's an ongoing community. But for something like Firo, right? Like, you kind of like been grandfathered in, right? For us, I think there are like, as a smaller project, there are realities that we need to face. And I mean, and like just take a look at Pirate Chain, right? Like it was a lot of private by default, whatnot. Obviously, all of that may have the theoretically highest privacy, but yeah, it's getting exchanges to list them, getting proper wallet support means that they have to do everything themselves, and it's a bit hard, right? So there's a balance to be had. I'm very mindful that privacy by default is how I want things to be. So like right now, even on our Spark asset layer, we want everything by default, like mandatory. Even all our official wallets, we are like going to be pushing Spark addresses and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully we can move there, but we also have technical backlog that we need to work through to totally remove transparent addresses, and we're quite a small team. So bear with us. Yeah.
Bawdy is asking, and you kind of answer some of this. What are some of the drawbacks of Firo? What are the trade-offs between Firo and Monero?
I think that's a great question. Well, first of all, I think for some, Monero would be like a non-starter. Is that part of the block reward goes to a core team, right? And right now, that's about 16,000 Firo, which is about $40,000 US a month that we get to fund all of us, which is treat cryptographers, research and developers. And if you think about it, it's not a lot, right? But some people are like, oh, you have a dev tax, screw you guys. But look, none of us are getting rich off it. You can do the math yourself. It's 16,000 Firo a month based on the block reward, right? But it allows us to continue pushing out. Like, there are many other like smaller projects, and sure, they copy technology and put this there and whatnot, but we're putting out original research that, is even being consideration in Monero. And I think there's some value to that, right? And giving developers and researchers the stability that they want. Obviously, eventually, we want to stop this completely because, once it's gone past a certain point, we just want, being in the privacy coin and development space is not a great position, right? Like you saw what happened to the Tornado Cash developer, right? Once someone big uses you, let's say North Korea, you suddenly whether you did it or not, you're caught in the crosshairs. And I had my developers asking me if this is going to be serious, they might stop working, because you can say, yeah, we fight for our rights and everything, but very few people are willing to go to jail for it. I'm not willing to go to jail for it. If someone threatens me and say, Reuben, you need to stop working the Firo or we'll send you to jail, I'm going to stop working on the Firo. I mean, let's be real. I really want to do it, but I'm not going to, throw my whole life away for it. I would say even doing this is already a risk. So yeah, I think it's Oh, so I think we didn't answer the question, right? And I would say, yeah, I mean, like Monero obviously has there's already adoption. I would say, on a technical standpoint, we are maybe slightly ahead, right? But I do think in terms of Monero, you have already like a very good recognizability. People are willing to give their time for free and stuff like that. Because of the recognition and like the community. For Firo, we don't have that yet. We have a lot of people like giving us good discounts or offering their help, but not to the same level as Monero, right? So I think in terms of adoption, in terms of developer community strength, and in terms of like, of course, exchange support and all of this and private by default and all of that, Monero has all those advantages. I would say our advantages are like, on the technical standpoint, we might be a little better. I mean, that's my personal opinion. And I would say, but I wouldn't say that we are necessarily at odds, right? Like, I don't think Monero is going to go through like, custom asset layers and stuff like that. We want to do like fun privacy NFTs. And just because we think that, I feel that the narrative of me, yes, like I totally get it, the libertarian narrative, we need to be independent, self-sovereignty and all of that. But let's face it, like, that's a very small minority of people. Even privacy people are a minority of people. But if we can make privacy fun, right? And educate people to it, which we actually have like a fun little NFT project that's funded by me that we're building out. We want to make privacy normalized and fun, right? And just going like doom and gloom, governments are going to get you, put all this tinfoil hat stuff. It's only going to attract a very, very small group of people. And we are hoping to, I guess, like, not just be a privacy coin, we're trying to be a privacy ecosystem. And yeah, I guess that's some of the pros, cons, and stuff. Yeah.
That's right.
Like, I mean, there's definitely symbiosis there, right?
Yes.
Monero can potentially benefit from some, the things you guys are working on. You guys can pivot faster, smaller project, you'd be more experimental. All those things, and we've seen it already, right, with your ability to implement Lelantis so quickly.
Yeah, I hope we're not going to be called like, the Litecoin of Monero. I mean, that would be really bad, but I see it.
You're aware of everything.
Yeah. you then have to sell all of your coins at the top of the market, right? So you can
yeah. I wish.
Looking forward to having you down there. What's your talking to be on? Do you know yet, or?
I was actually thinking of like talking about like, I think it would be interesting to see the history of the flow of our privacy protocols to Spark and Seraphis today. So, like all the different things and the considerations and what led to it and the research and all the roadblocks that we face. I'm not sure if this is something people are interested in, but we can talk and see what's thing. But we went through a lot of hardship and dead ends to actually come to Lelantis Spark. So I thought that might be interesting for you guys. Yeah,
definitely. I love it. All right, man. Stick around if you can.
We're gonna move on.
I will.
Okay.
The news segment.
We're gonna do the news segment, and then people can ask you some questions if they have.
We'll go through,
sure.
Quickly and all right, so we'll talk to you in a second.
Cool.
We'll bring Dgoon up to ask some questions.
All righty, thank you. All righty, let's move on to the news. And now for our weekly news segment. Hello, Tony.
Tony,
you're muted. You look very bright. And you're muted.
Hey guys, 1 second.
Yep.
I'm gonna mute this. Let me mute Twitter. Hey guys,
how's it going? I see the sunshine.
Yeah,
I want some warmth.
I just came back from Miami.
Whatever.
Damn, you're living the life, Tony.
Well,
I've seen it all.
Yeah, it's cool. I've seen Pump on Wednesday, and he gave a speech. He talked about his investments, Bitcoin for a little bit, and then so I was gonna be that guy and then ask about Monero. but like people were asking questions about their startups and very specific. So I didn't want to get away, you know. I didn't want to intervene, and because there were limited amount of questions that could be given.
You're too nice.
I know.
I mean,
I'm right up there.
He just literally would have jumped on stage with the mic.
So, what do you think about Monero? Do you want to come to the conference?
Basically.
Yeah, but that's cool. Yeah, and I couldn't talk to him after because after he was done, he was like, "All right," and then he just
walked out, just like that other guy when we met at that other conference. Remember the guy running for?
Oh no, the congressman. What was his name?
Congressman.
Well,
I have to talk to the children.
Yeah, I know.
The students, not the children.
Students.
Sorry.
Students. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the news.
Take it away, man.
Yep.
Take it away, my friend. You want to share this screen?
Yes, let's do that. And there's so much love in the chat. We have CakeWallet wishing good morning. Foxcoid, I love you all. Ian, Vic. Then we have Twitter. This is awesome.
Awesomeness.
Yeah, so people were asking, will we be streaming the event? Yeah, we will. We will be streaming Monerotopia. Well, I mean, if everything works out, that is the plan. Once we figure that out, we're going to add a ticket for it. It'll be a virtual ticket if you want to watch it live that day. Otherwise, all the videos we'll put up, for free, and you can access them like maybe 2 weeks later once we can edit everything.
Yeah, same as we did last year.
But yeah, same as last year. We're going to add a virtual ticket, most likely.
Yep. And talking about tickets, so we actually gave away all the VIP tickets, so they're sold out. But if you still want to get the general admission ticket, what you can do is you go to buy tickets.
What are you doing?
Then you add the card, and then you actually go inside the card to view the card, and then if you write the coupon code Tony, you get
10% off.
Where's my?
Your code didn't work.
It didn't work.
Did it expire?
Oh,
No,
it's probably expired. Yeah, remember I changed.
Yeah, your code expired.
Yeah. But don't worry,
we'll give you
reset
a new
it.
code.
We'll give you a new code.
It's coming back, guys.
I'll do it right now. Keep talking. Move on.
Okay.
All right, move on to the news.
And you could even pay with Firo, actually, if you don't want to pay with Monero. You could use now payments. You can pay with any crypto you want. I think literally everyone that bought a ticket has used Monero and has used the Monero gateway so far. But we do have now payments on there as well if you want to use some other crypto to buy your ticket.
Beautiful. Awesome. So then let's mention Monerokon while we're at it. And they're actually selling tickets right now. Their conference is going to be on June 23rd through June 25th in Czech Republic. And the ticket is $132 for the general admission. And the VIP is going to be 264 euros, dollars. It's 1-to-1. So, yeah.
Very excited for that.
Yep, that's awesome. Oh, wait, June 23rd, June 25th. I might actually make it this time. We'll see.
Yeah, we were speaking to the guy pretty much coordinating it. And we're excited. We're trying to get him to come to Monerotopia.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
The one that would be representing Rhino if he comes by. So
right, code Tony should work now. Just saying.
He's back.
Very excited for Monero conference.
Awesome. Yep, it's gonna be awesome. Now let's talk about CakeWallet and the fact that they just released their desktop app, which I've been wanting to use for a long time, and now it's finally available. It's only for Apple Silicon M1 and M2 chips so far as a beta version, but then it's coming to Linux and Windows as well. If you actually want to help them to test it, make sure that you follow this link and that you chat with them and let them know what you think. And what's cool is that I noticed in the planned features, they're going to implement a coin price chart screen and a news screen. So very cool.
Exciting.
And more secret stuff. So.
And more secret stuff.
The news screen should just be a live feed of you, Tony, just like saying the news.
Oh, yeah.
And like
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Tony.
Streaming live. Cake. Cake.
You got to see gratuitous coffee behind me. I'll drink like 2 liters per day just to keep it up. Keep myself up, actually.
Very exciting to see, though, the continued obviously Cake always lunging forward with development.
Yes. Actually, I was talking to someone at the conference, or meetup, not conference, meetup. And he knew about Monero, Monerotopia, CakeWallet. He was actually using CakeWallet. And then I gave him some Monero in the CakeWallet.
Nice.
Go, Tony.
Yeah, so that was awesome. But now let's talk about El Salvador and their mega prison. So yeah, this is crazy, and we're gonna watch a video in a second, which is amazing that we even have a video of it, because they show how they moved them from where they were before in the buses and then to their next location. But yeah, the situation in El Salvador was and still is pretty bad with crime. So they so far moved 2,000 accused gang members to the 40,000 person capacity prison, considered to be the largest in the Americas. And let's actually watch the video right now. Second.
Well, they're all accused of being found guilty of being gang members without proper due process.
Yeah, so it's wild.
Yeah, that's yes. I mean, so the whole situation down there is very interesting, because obviously he's managed to clean up crime, I mean, faster than any other world leader for their country. It's pretty insane what they've done over there. I think the homicide rate has plummeted. But they did it in a way, I don't know the details, but I believe, there were essentially concessions made, right? Laws passed in Congress that allowed them to do it in such a way where they weren't going through traditional due process to get these guys off the street. So it's controversial. It's, Bukele, right? So he's trying to usher in liberty and prosperity with Bitcoin, but also doing that in a very totalitarian type of way, ironically, right? So kind of mandating its usage, and then you see him taking these harsh moves over here, which it's hard to argue, right? He's making it a more secure and safe place to live, but once again, he's doing it with an iron fist and in a way that might be inhumanitarian.
Right. But some people said that you have no idea what you're talking about. Only Salvadorans know what these criminals have put us through. I'll advise anyone who thinks this is horrible to do some research, and then you can come to your own conclusions. For us, this is heaven. And then if we scroll down, murder rate went near zero almost overnight.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
how do you argue against that?
So yeah, it is dehumanizing.
But that's also the ultimate argument that you can make for solving all crime, right?
Right.
So it's controversial. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know enough about it, but
yeah, I don't know.
You would like to see things done I mean, me personally, in a more democratic and liberty-minded way, get to the same outcome. But obviously, it's not as easy as taking harsh steps like this to get immediate results. But that's the same thing as saying, let's put a camera in everybody's home, because there'll never be crime again, right? So I don't think anybody would, But if you saw the results overnight, all crime plummeted. It's amazing. But what are you willing to sacrifice as a society? So it's interesting, because it's is El Salvador this bastion of liberty, or is it becoming this kind of its own form of dystopia over there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know what to say about this, but on what other ways they could have prevented this crime. But I guess the numbers show that it worked in some way. It's interesting.
What is Alex Gladstein saying about this? I haven't, because
Oh my
obviously
God,
he's
you and
very
Alex.
pro Bitcoin. I think he was very much aligned with what they were doing down there.
Yeah.
For Bitcoin, and now on this issue, as the Human Rights Foundation, I'm curious what their take is on this. I don't know.
He mostly, I didn't see what he thinks about that specifically, but we'll get into what he thought about something else.
Oh, okay.
So I'll make what I want. Yeah. Well, yeah. What I want to mention right now is that only 1.6% of remittances were sent via Bitcoin, and 1/3 of Latin American consumers have used stablecoins for everyday purchases, which is very interesting because in the US, and actually let's go to a chart. So it says that in the US, 80% of the purchases are made through cash and then 20% through USDC. But in the rest of the world, which is mostly, I think, because it's not so popular in Europe, but in Latin America, it's very popular for sure. Around 22% of the transactions are made via, I think, dollars, 22% in their local currencies, and then 56% via USDC, so a stable coin. And if we go to this website, and then we'll go back to Alex Gladstein and what he mentioned. Yes, people in Latin America are actually very optimistic about digital assets. 54% are optimistic about them. 2/3 of Latinos want greater flexibility to use crypto and traditional payment methods. And a lot of them are using USDC and stablecoins for day-to-day purchases. And now Alex Gladstein asked if he has different data about El Salvador, obviously because they use Bitcoin. I mean, it's legal tender, so you think that it may be used more than any other method. Either way, I agree. Bitcoin use cannot be imposed. It must be learned and done in a grassroots fashion. So indicators of access, use, and quality of financial services in El Salvador is available here. Oh, okay. What are remittances? But yeah, I mean, so stablecoins are used the most in Latin America, and Bitcoin is not used as much as you'd think that it is.
Right, the organic adoption is actually happening with stablecoins.
With stablecoins instead of Bitcoin. Yeah, but I'm not sure what he thinks about what Alex thinks about Nayib Bukele's way of implementing things in the country, which so far has been by the use of force. Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what he thinks about it.
Maybe we'll get him back on Monero Talk. I don't think he'll ever come back.
He'll never come back.
Oh my God.
That was a great episode if you guys want. It was back in the day before Alex. He wasn't very well known at all back then. I recommend people go check it out. It was a good one.
I actually didn't watch it, so I should watch it. I didn't watch that episode.
There are a few people Doug has had on. They will never come back on.
It wasn't contentious, but whatever. Go ahead, man.
Yes. Oh yeah, and then another one with Alex. So they were talking about El Salvador's official cryptocurrency remittances, and that they continue to stagnate. So in October 2021, that's when around Bitcoin became legal tender, the number was 4.5% of all transactions, of all methods of transacting. And then by November, 1 month later, it dropped down to 2%, so it halved immediately. And then ever since, the percentage of all remittances sent to El Salvador are between 1.6% to 1.8%. But now, in December 2022, they've seen a low of 1.4%. Then Alex commented, any idea what the real numbers are, including peer-to-peer and unofficial markets, which is a good question. And then Gerson Martinez replied back that he doesn't have reliable data on unofficial or peer-to-peer markets. But the major drawback and a major barrier for remittance senders is their limited ability to exchange the cash for Bitcoin, because a lot of them are unbanked. So this is one major issue that they're seeing. Now let's talk about Bitcoin and the fact that one U.S. legislator introduced a bill that would prohibit the creation of an American CBDC. So U.S. Congressman Tom Emmer introduced a bill, which is titled the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, and is looking to prohibit the Federal Reserve from issuing a CBDC directly to anyone. And then to summarize the bill and the article, it essentially does three things: prohibits the Fed from issuing a CBDC directly to anyone, bars the Fed from using a CBDC to implement monetary policy and control the economy, requires the Fed CBDC projects to be transparent to Congress and the American people. So any digital version of the dollar must uphold our American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitiveness. Anything less opens the door to the development of a dangerous surveillance tool.
Tom Emmer, I've been trying to get him on the show for years.
Oh wow!
So, that's the litmus test, right? So he's out there, he's all pro privacy. Come on, Monero talk, Tom. Come on. Like, that's kind of the test. He should be willing to come on Monero Talk and talk about these ideas and Monero. I don't think he's ever mentioned Monero and his take as to whether or not, where he stands with regards to it. But he is doing a great job. He's very pro privacy.
Yes.
He's worried about the elimination of cash and what that means for society. He's kind of the closest thing we have to a pro Monero congressman, without saying it. So cheers to him. This is interesting to see. But with this, you got to wonder too, right? So this, totally, I like where he's headed with this. But is it because he wants to protect privacy, or is he looking out for the interests of the banks, the small banks that would suffer from a CBDC, right? So that's kind of the dynamic you're seeing. The regular retail banks would essentially, you would think, would be opposed to a central bank digital currency because it kind of takes away some of the business that they're in. If we're getting our dollars essentially directly from the Fed through central bank digital currency. So I'm curious if that's playing a role in this legislation that's being pushed forward.
Right. But he did talk about Bitcoin. I think he mentions Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, of course. He mentions Bitcoin.
Well, Bitcoin,
he's very much pro Bitcoin. I'm saying, but Monero, right? He also talks about. Yeah. He also talks a lot about being, pro privacy and digital cash needs to be private, but he doesn't go so far as to talk about Monero.
Yeah, so let's try to get him on the show.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, everybody go in the comments and.
I was emailing with them. We almost got him on, and
oh wow.
Last year,
especially when I had just run for Congress, so there was a little bit of a, we had a little bit of didn't work. We'll try again.
Yeah. Now let's talk about. So you might think, okay, so he doesn't like a CBDC, but let's talk about why nobody should like a CBDC. And so this article talks about 5 ways in which CBDCs could impact the global financial system. So number 1, digitalization of payments, which is, of course, a good thing if it's done in the right way, like Monero, where it's respecting privacy and you have fungibility and scalability and everything. So it's like cash, but digital. This way, it's great because cash it's dirty and you don't need to carry so much of it every single time. So something like Monero is awesome in this aspect. So payments will be digital, and they should be digital in the future, but done the right way. Then they talk about the reduced use of cash, and cash usage will drop with the introduction of CBDCs. And this is, of course, for central banks to monitor cash movements and thwart fraud and other criminal activity. They always mention this. Then they also mention increased financial stability, which essentially means that they can prohibit people from committing a bank run. So when there's tough financial times, people can just withdraw their money, but they're obviously trying to work their ways around that to make it harder to do. Then they will implement interest rate management. Then spending limits, so you can spend only so much. And
it starts to sound worse and worse as you get out of this. They can completely control your money, do all your transactions, they can program it so you can only use it for certain things.
Yes. And negative interest rates.
There you go.
Which means that you need to spend.
And this is something, like I said, this is going to affect the retail banks as well. So you're starting to see this dynamic of the retail banks that are going to be opposed to CBDCs, and this other force of nature that is pro CBDC. That's where you're really seeing the power play and the split.
Yes. But I think
and then you have us too, like no privacy. But I'm saying the real strength is going to come from people that stand to lose, big businesses that stand to lose money from the implementation of a CBDC. And that's where you're going to see the true pushback. And, obviously they're going to disguise it as being, that they're pro cash and pro privacy as well. But I think that's where we're going to start to see the pushback against CBDCs. We're seeing
well, actually, we had an article on the show a couple of months ago from Russia, and the ministry was actually pushing CBDC while the banks were against CBDC. And the article talked about how one wants it, but the other one doesn't want it.
Exactly.
For reasons that you mentioned. And Reuben wrote in the comments, agree, I'm very sad about the whole move towards cashless. The demonization of cash is disgusting. Yeah, this is all disgusting stuff. Again, I'm pro cashless if it's something like Monero, because I don't like to carry cash, and
as long as we have a replacement, right? That's why we're that's why we're here.
Exactly. That's why you're here.
But not everybody has access, right? People deserve access in a free and open society to something like physical cash.
Yes, that's all. And a lot of people don't even have a smartphone, so there's many things to it. But negative interest rate, that you can save your money, you need to spend your money. You can only spend so much. They surveil it. Yeah, so no wonder Tom wants
they could perfectly tax it. I mean, I don't know. Is that on the list too? That should be on the list, right? It certainly makes knowing what everybody is doing with their money and when a transaction is taking place easier for the government to determine when they literally have now the ledger sitting in their, on a server.
But they can automatically tax you. You don't even need to do anything, and then they can just play with the negative interest rate, so that it's higher, it's lower, depending on what they want.
Right.
So they can certainly tax you and do whatever they want. But I guess if you like it and you do want to work on the CBDC, you can apply on LinkedIn for the senior application developer for digital currency. This is for the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. They'll pay you between $110,000 to $176,000 to work on it. And within 24 hours, there are 45 anti-Monero, anti-liberty, anti-privacy people, I guess, that applied for the position. So and there's one more.
Or they're double agents and they're looking to sabotage, you never know.
Exactly. Hopefully. But they were talking about how, in the article, how major economies across the world test CBDCs, and India onboarded 50,000 users and 5,000 merchants to test out its recently launched digital rupee. You know how they've done that? They've taken away a lot of the cash in circulation, so that people are actually forced to use the CBDC. And we talked about Nigeria. They're doing the same, taking cash away and then pushing their Naira, which has only a 0.5% usage of their CBDC. So yeah, we onboarded so many people to CBDC. We took their cash away, so they didn't have anything.
I will say, though, and I've said this before, I do think you will see adoption essentially by mandate through pressure. You want to get that check in the mail, the rebate check that everybody's getting because of the bad economy. Well, you'll get whatever 25% more if you accept it in the form of CBDC, right?
There we go.
Yeah. All right. Why would I say no to that? I got to feed my family, and and it's not their problem, right? So the government has this ability essentially force everybody into this, and they have every incentive to do so. I mean, look what we saw with COVID, right? That one of the things that came out of COVID was everybody now uses QR codes. QR codes were around forever, right? But nobody really was like, there was never broad adoption, especially, I mean, here in the US, like it really was not adopted. And then post COVID, boom, it's like you go to a restaurant, it's like, oh, where's the QR code? You know, like my parents now are like QR coding, like, so, you know, so to say, you know, to look at the adoption now of CBDCs where it's first launching and to assume like, oh, people aren't going to take it, you know, if COVID and any other things we've seen in the past with how governments have this ability to push things on people is evidence. We're going to see it with CBDCs for sure.
For sure. People will take it. Most people don't care. Oh, it's more money. Just like with the stimulus check. Oh, it's extra money. It's just extra money. It's not going to hurt the economy in any way. Yeah.
And potentially, it's adding a lot of convenience to your life, right? It's all those things, you know. And so, and there's going to be, you know, just like you see commercials and public messages nonstop of why you need to get vaccinated every 2 weeks. I mean, there's going to be similar things like, you know, you're going to see it on public messages like reminding you you should use CBDCs. Like, it's going to happen, right? That's going to be the push.
It's like Windows. Whenever I use Linux, but whenever I go back into Windows, do you want Windows 11? No. Are you sure? Okay, but you should really use it. Not really. Okay, one more time. They're gonna do it like this.
They will push the masses into it 100%.
For sure. Just like the IMF is helping Jordan's central bank for implementing a retail CBDC, and each week it's a new country. We talked about Oman, we talked about Russia, we talked about Turkey. So all the countries would essentially want a CBDC. And there's one thing that I wanted to mention. Yes, so the RCBDC, which is Jordan's potential CBDC, may offer some benefits, but it does not necessarily address pain points. What are the pain points? Low financial literacy, okay? And the second is a persistent cash culture are among the pain points, and our CBDC would not address. So Jordan is, I think, using a lot of cash. They have a persistent cash culture.
It's a cultural problem. How do we solve this cultural issue? These people seem to like liberty. How do we destroy that? It's going to be a real problem for CBDCs.
It's a pain point. It's crazy.
So sad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right.
And, let's talk about Trocador. Just one more thing, guys. In case you don't like all of this, well, guess what? You can simulate rates via API, create trades, check transactions, use their non-payment gateway solution, create invoices with their payment generator, all through the Invisible Internet Project, which is a networking layer that allows for anonymous peer-to-peer communications. And Trocador now has it. So
they added ITP, or they added Trocador. So very cool. And supposedly it's faster than Tor, right? They're a part of a adoption alley at Monerotopia, so that should be cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Awesome. So guys, beautiful.
Awesome. Beautiful. Awesome. Gorgeous.
You want to bring?
We'll do the viewers on stage.
Reuben up?
Then,
back up.
We'll do the viewers on stage.
Oh, do the viewers on stage? I did. Wait, Tony, you have something else to say?
You want to say?
Yeah, two more things. So first, for people watching, if you want to check out the links, they're in the description, so you can check them out and read them for your own. And then second, I think my code should work now. So if you want,
yes, I fixed it. So
yeah,
Tony,
work now. Yeah,
promo code Tony.
It's
difficult. I'm sure people will forget, but it works now.
Easy. Yeah. Perfect.
All righty. Okay. Thank you, Tony.
All right,
appreciate it.
Yeah, stick around if you can. We'll do viewers on stage.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's questions in the audience for Firo.
Woohoo! Let's move on to the viewers on stage segment.
Nice. Maybe put some tunes on while you...
It's the viewers on stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down. As always, cheesy intro, but it works. It works, my friends.
Dgoon, we're gonna move over to the spaces. If
Yeah,
you guys
let's do
can
that.
just shift over to spaces.
Let's do that. Oh,
And
let
we'll
me put on
continue
my
over
little
there
tunes
for a
over
little
here.
bit.
Let's
Don't have
see.
too much time.
You put on some tunes while I transition into the spaces.
All right, let's transition into spaces.
That sounds very weird. Do some dance pop.
Okay, made the transition. Request. All right, I'll add you. Hear me. All right. Anybody else that wants to see if anybody has jump up? Now's the time. What do you request to speak? See CBDCs built on top of Firo. Reuben, can you hear me? Or built with Firo?
It's a bit soft, but it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, let's see if anybody has a Firo. So, what do you think, man? Are we going to see CBDCs built on top of Firo? Or built with Firo?
I think that's like super unlikely. I mean, I think the whole point of CBDC is control, and we are like permissionless. So, yeah, I mean, very unlikely. I mean, we are speaking to like some of my state government that may be interested in some stuff, but we're trying to go down the voting way. But yeah, I can't really hear you. Hang on, I'm trying to figure how to make this audio.
You can't hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's me on my end.
Sorry?
Should be good though. Maybe it's me. Can other people hear me? I'm getting thumbs up from Lip. I don't know.
Log off a stream. Yeah. Let me
okay. Yeah. Log off and move over.
Let me try to rejoin. I'll be back shortly because I can't really hear anymore.
Yeah, that works sometimes when you rejoin.
Yeah. Lip, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Doug? What's going on? Hey, y'all, how y'all doing? So y'all got a couple of things I was looking at. How you doing, though, Doug?
Good. Go for it. What do you got?
All right, let me hop in my notes. Give me one sec.
Oh man, taking notes.
All right, so do you want to start with CBDs?
Yeah, whatever you got, and we'll discuss. See if people have things to say about it.
First question, then. How do y'all feel? What do y'all think the CBD will look like?
What it will look like? All
right, so I'll throw some things out there just so you could add on top of that. Non-disclosure fee, non-disclosure. I have customers and they in their service. And what I'm seeing is they have like this chip that could be like embedded in like your skin. And it basically will be like the all-in-one app with the CBD, your banking, your virtual ID. It will be all that in one. And then it's like a barcode type of chip, NFC chip type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the ultimate, outcome.
I give you the best mental image then. I'm like in my 26s and everything, but if y'all ever heard of Futurama, it was like a series like Family Guy. And basically, like how it started was to work and everything. You had all of that information in your, by your thumb. So I see that like kind of in the making. And it's like once you give a camel an inch, it will take a mile. So I want to see how they want to implement it, I guess, in a certain sense. That is important.
I mean, that is, that's the concern, man. I think you're touching upon why we like literally talk, we talk about it every week on the shows because it is the ultimate path toward dystopia, right? So whether, how long it takes for us to get to that point where it's, digital IDs combined with CBDCs and essentially implanted in every person when if we get there, I do not know. But we're already just the initial movement towards it is scary enough, where if they can just track and trace 99.9% of society's transactions at all times seamlessly and control how they use their money and turn people on and off the system, that is terrifying.
All right, so are y'all familiar with Rosie Rio?
Rosie Rio? No, I don't believe so.
Okay, so she's a treasurer, and if somebody takes the time to pull some money out of their pocket, I say if we got like about 32, 33 people in this chat right now, somebody could pull some money out of their pocket, and if American money, and if you look in the left-hand corner around where it says this is a legal tender for all debts, public and private, one of the treasurer names is Rosie Rio. So now I'm bringing her up now because she signed about $1 trillion in our current supply of money. Now, she has a job now with this company named Ripple. All right, I even say this. Biden, he just made the treasurer, he just swore in a new treasurer head, and he used to work for Ripple. So what I'm seeing is they're getting all these people in the feds. Now, the only way I can see they could use that as a positive is if whatever money that goes to being taxed, if we could see what they do with our money publicly, then that would help us to see how they spend our money. Like if everybody's getting tax money right now out their check, right? And we can't see where that money goes, that's kind of a problem. So I feel like they should use that technology on them to be transparent to help us. It shouldn't be used the other way around. But go ahead.
Yeah, 100%, man. Traceable.
So they got a
traceable crypto for governments, and Monero for the people, and let people naturally adopt whatever currency they want to use, and mandate that governments have to use a perfectly traceable crypto for their purposes. Does sound like a great ideal to strive towards. Let me let Reuben chime in here, since he's our special guest this week.
Hello, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I think you're good now.
Yeah, sorry, I lost the first part of the question because I was grabbing my headphones and just gave up. But yeah, we're talking about CBDCs, right? And
yeah, we're talking about CBDCs and the ultimate outcome. I don't know. Do you have any insight into what tech governments are looking to build on? Like Lip was saying, Ripple seems to be a common name that comes up when we talk about governments using existing cryptos for building their CBDCs.
I don't see the reason why people would want to use like existing cryptos, right? I mean, like, sure, even whether like even blockchain technology is the right thing. I mean, there's I guess other like decentralized ledger technologies, right, that are much more scalable and whatnot. Because I don't know if it's like decentralization isn't, I wouldn't call it a goal of CBDCs, right? So as long as it's redundant enough, right? There's no need for like full decentralization. So I definitely think that maybe even like blockchains might not be the most ideal solution out there. But I mean, like, there's of course like varying degrees of understanding of CBDCs, right? There are a lot of, especially countries like mine, where I guess understanding of digital currencies is always tied into crypto and like blockchain, right? Without realizing, like, well, not all decentralized ledger technologies are blockchain. So like, I've been also like in talks with certain people who are in touch with the government, and they're like, oh yeah, even now our Malaysian government's also looking at CBDCs, are talking about blockchain and all of that. And many other third world countries, especially like in Africa and whatnot, some of them are also looking at CBDCs. And I feel like a lot of the time it's driven more of like, we want to look that we are ahead, right? Like we want to be in AI, we want to be in like blockchain and look all cool and stuff, when there's actually very little understanding at the decision maker level and whatnot. And that's where I feel where maybe some blockchains would actually be used to make a CBDC. But I feel like with the major countries, they probably wouldn't use like Ripple or something like that. I mean, that's just my thought. No opinions on whether Ripple is the right platform or not. But I just think that it's so unlikely if they can easily build their own CBDC, right? But I think what I'm personally concerned about is that like money has always been a weapon, but now with CBDCs, the access to financial stuff is actually weaponized, right? And it's very scary. Like I have a friend in Singapore, right? And obviously, I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but what he told me was like, his spouse was actually kind of charged with some sort of like financial crime, but it's not even like they're not even proven guilty, right? So it's just like still under trial and whatnot. And now they are being not deplatformed, it's not the right word, but they are being cut off from the financial system. Like all the bank accounts that got closed, the mortgage got closed and whatnot. And I'm thinking, well, banks already can do that. I feel like CBDCs are even scarier, right? We saw what happened to Canadian truckers, and this is really a weapon to retain control. How can you? That's why I always see it like in the US. They always thought, well, we must retain the right to retain to bear arms because we need to rise up against our government, right? Well, that's kind of useless if you can get cut off from the financial system, and then where are you going to buy shit, right? So I think it goes hand in hand, and I hope people recognize that, right? Like, don't fight just for guns, but you got to fight for money too. I think it's even more vital for money. Yeah.
100%, man. Yeah, it's more subtle, right? It's not something people pick on as fast. It's not as obvious in your face of what nefarious outcomes it can lead to when we're all using a traceable fiat that's in digital form that is programmable by the government. Anon Shop, what's going on, man? Yeah, any comments?
Oh, I don't really have any comments about the CBD stuff, so I just have some questions for Reuben, but I can also wait.
Anybody else want to throw CBDC stuff?
Yeah, I just wanted to point one thing out that I think it's important to keep in mind when we're talking about insiders and power players. It's easy to think, it's like one monolithic entity, right? But the reality is that we have power players in all different sectors. There's probably like financial insiders that are trying to use crypto for stable coins and kind of make that quasi CBDC where they're like, for example, like I said, Fidelity is trying to back USDC with a money market account, which is backed by reverse repos at the Fed, which really isn't the same thing as like a hardcore government CBDC. But then we also have these other forces, people probably like Elizabeth Warren, who would probably love a CBDC, right? So you get these power players, like when a new technology comes up, they're always like struggling to be the one to take control of it. So we've probably got like these multiple influences from multiple angles. And it's like, well, if they can't get their like full, heavy, total totalitarian CBDC in place, well, then maybe they'll just find a way to kind of co-opt the crypto ecosystem with different kinds of stable coins, and maybe they'll like expand their KYC on in that regard. So I just wanted to point out that we're still kind of like in this phase where they're probably trying to figure out exactly what they want to do, and they're attacking it from multiple angles.
Very good point. Very good point. Anon Shop, go ahead, man.
Hi, Reuben. I just want to say shout out to Firo. I spent like hours last night researching the work y'all have done, and y'all are definitely punching out of your weight class when it comes to the amount of research you guys have posted, and it's actually beautiful to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
And reading through that research, I have like a list of like 15 questions, but I'll just pick one. I saw that y'all did your ASIC resistance mining algorithm. Y'all chose one that y'all chose one that was GPU resistant versus something like CPU resistant than Monero has. Would you mind explaining why you chose to target GPUs over CPUs, for example?
Sure. So first of all, I mean, like, the MTP research was kind of like a dud. We spent a lot of time and money on it, and we didn't really get the desired properties that we wanted. And in a way, I think we were doing something that wasn't in our field of expertise, because someone who designs mining algorithms should also be very not just conversant with cryptography, but also with hardware design and the cryptography. So okay, I'll skip over that because we're running out of time. But you can ask me personally later. But why we chose GPUs is at the time, actually Firo actually started as a CPU mineable coin, and it was intended to be CPU mineable only. But what happened is that we got raped really, really hard by people doing like using cloud mining credits, which I don't know. I think it probably got them illegitimately. I mean, even had some of my friends saying like, "Oh yeah, I got this thing," and then they're like mining the crap out of it, and they even like some of the pools were saying, "Yeah, it's very clear that some of these were botnets and stuff like that." And I know, like Monero is kind of like kind of partial to botnets, but I felt that look, the whole goal of it is for fair distribution, right? The idea is that, you don't want to you put in a X number of resources, you are going to be on the equal playing field with other people as well. So yeah, of course, you put in more, you get more, but at the same rate as other people. But I felt that botnets were an unfair advantage, right? Because only a few people have it, and it's like you're using other people's resources and getting it. And also, when we saw all this cloud mining being abused by us, on our platform, we were like, oh man, this is really bad. And that time, maybe it's changed right now, but the idea was that, back then you couldn't really easily rent GPU power to mine. And even if you did, like, you went to Nice Hash or some mining rig renter, you were renting it at a premium versus what you could do by mining yourself. So you're not getting any sort of unfair advantage. And they probably are GPU based botnets, but most of them aren't, because they target server farms and stuff like that. Maybe now with the rise of AI and all this sort of stuff, there might be more GPU farms and for botnets to take advantage of. But the idea was that we felt that GPU was a more fair distribution mechanism compared to CPUs back then. Obviously, the situation might have changed, but I still think that Monero is in a unique situation where there is a symbiosis between the botnet runners and the function of Monero, right? Like a lot of the botnet runners will probably also run ransomware, making a very huge, like oversimplification and like putting all in one category. But there is a natural symbiosis where if I'm gonna run, if I'm gonna do like ransomware, I want to use Monero, right? And I'm probably going to use botnets. So it's in my interest for Monero to keep going. So there's a nice loop there. Obviously, there's not a great narrative in terms of how it looks, but yeah, it works. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, thank you. That was an amazing answer. I never considered the impact of botnets and that symbiotic relationship. That's amazing. Doug, do I have time for one more, or should I open the floor up?
No, man, this is great. This is great.
Yeah,
this is great. Keep going. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I also you mentioned doing this interview about funding and how you said right now you have a dev tax. You eventually hope to go to a more donation based. Do you see that being the best solution? I mean, in the past, Monero has had issues around paying cryptographers enough. I'm sure you're familiar with the Sarang issue.
Very familiar. I mean, Sarang is working with us, right? So I mean, like for a time, we had Sarang full time on us, which also produced a lot of the great research that we have here, of course, together with our own cryptographer Aram. And I saw that, like, yes, I think I'm actually not very sure. This is a very hard question to think, because everyone's like, oh yeah, donation is the only like way to go, and I feel that it has its own issues. Obviously, it means that less targets and stuff. And right now, actually, the majority of our funds now is from donation, because Justin who also works with Cake helped us set up set us up with a magic fund, and someone, a company called Arcadia, gave like a $200K US donation to it. That it was tax free. So I see the benefit of it, but it's hard to consistently rely on handouts, and it's very hard to plan. It's very hard to give developers and cryptographers the stability, which is, I think, one of the reasons why Sarang, didn't want to continue using the CCS. I think he's quite happy doing his research, not bothering stuff like that. So I think there's pros and cons, but eventually, I do hope that we want to move to I want to just get rid of the core funding. Hopefully there'll be something like quadratic funding, which is what we are kind of exploring things. But a lot of the voting mechanisms of funding are just kind of rigged, whereby I totally don't believe in coin voting. It's just like, oh yeah, the rich get to say what everyone thinks. But I think quadratic funding, or where some sort of there's matching, I think Gitcoin is an interesting mechanism. I wouldn't say perfect, but I think that's the kind of funding governance mechanism that we are looking at and interested to do, rather than pure coin voting or pure donations and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm just a steward if the community decides whatnot, but I think it's important to be cognizant that, while donations on the philosophical standpoint is great, on the practical standpoint, that's really tough for if you want people to work on the privacy coin and already put themselves at risk, and again have an inconsistent source of income, which is subject to with the funding. I think Monero has seen its own share of drama and ding dong here and there, and just sometimes you just don't want to deal with it, right? You just want to do your works, and I think that's a fair point to make. Yeah.
Hey Reuben, yeah, if I heard you right, didn't you say something about a DEX?
Yes. We have something called the Atomic DEX, which is
interesting. You got my attention.
I wouldn't say it's the best. It's order book based. Obviously, there's no centralized servers. Anyone can spin up one of those. It's actually currently working with I think the Atomic DEX team is being done by Komodo. We have an official kind of arrangement with them to do our own branded stuff and remove any sort of weird geo restrictions. Personally, of course, we also have basic swap DEX with Particle, which is, of course, I think in early stage, but again, very promising and I think privacy preserving at the standpoint. But I feel that Atomic Swap based, which is great in the sense that it's cross-chain based, and you can maybe get a transaction done within 15 minutes, which isn't bad when you consider depositing the SEX and all that sort of stuff. But it has its own limitations where you kind of have to be on for 15 minutes. It's hard for a regular community user to provide liquidity, because who has time to go and manage market maker bots and stuff like that? So I find personally Sarai is a very interesting model, whereby they're going to do AMM and stuff like that. Obviously, we are still looking at other options as well, but what we have right now is Atomic DEX, or Firo DEX, which is basically Firo branded Atomic DEX. Not the best, but it works today with a decent experience. There's good liquidity on the Firo BTC pair. Also allows us to bridge between the Binance pack Firo on the Binance Smart Chain thing and into native Firo. So some people can go on PancakeSwap, get some Firo BEP20 and swap it almost 1-to-1 on Firo DEX with very little slippage. So I think I see it as a tool. Obviously we are approaching it from multiple different approaches. But yeah, we do have something working right now. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
No. That was good. Anybody else? And then I think I got to wrap it up. I got to continue on with my non-crypto life. Making dinner for friends tonight. But yeah, anybody else? All right, Reuben, thank you so much, man. I hope
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I did. It's now 2:20 a.m.
Oh
God.
shit. Forgot about that. You're on the other side of the world. Look forward to hanging out with you, man, in person down at Monerotopia, Mexico. Excited for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, if any of you have any questions, just you know, ping me on Twitter. I'll be happy to, you know, we can talk over whatever and chat more. So thanks, guys. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. Anybody who's just kind of discovering this space for the first time, we do this every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We do the Monerotopia show. We always have a new special guest. We do news. We do price report. Anon Shop recently was added to the team, and he does a dev report every week. So tune in live every week. And also check out Monerotopia.com, where we're selling tickets to a Monero conference that's taking place in Mexico City in May. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Anon Shop. Thank you, Bawdy, so much. Reuben, thank you. Lip, thanks as always for stopping in. Cheers, everyone. Peace. Tony, thank you for the news, man. Amazing as always. Later.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.